we've been in the darkness and we know that darkness is probably coming.
Yeah,
So like we're just trying to have as much fun
that's
and
right.
watching a competitive team. And if Jimmy Butler gets one, like it'll be great that he got it as a Warrior. Like he got his first and maybe only as a
Mhm.
Golden State Warrior, as Steph gets number 6 and ties Kobe and Draymond. Um,
5, but
dude,
yeah.
that's how I see it as a Golden State
Right.
Warrior fan.
They win game 7. We'll just start with game 7 because that's the most recent one. They get the win 103-89 at Houston, and that was on Sunday. Draymond goes for 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. Buddy Hield had 33 points. Steph Curry finished with 20. And Steph Curry was kind of cold, especially the first 2.5 quarters. And then suddenly he was like 1 for 9. He finished I believe he finished 8 for 16 or something like that. He really turned it on in the third and fourth quarter and got up to a respectable 20 points there. Draymond has now every series he's played in playoff series. He's scored double digits at least once. So I mean, not exactly a guy known for his offense, but there's at least one game every series where he's going to fill it up for you a little bit.
Right.
So that's good that that streak continues. That's 5 series in a row that the Warriors have defeated the Rockets. Uh, you go back to the 2015 Western Conference Finals. You had the matchups in 2017 and
Yep.
2018. I mean, yeah, it feels good. It feels good to beat the Rockets, and this version of the Rockets which was sort of a mishmash of prior Warriors rivals. You had Ime Udoka and you had Fred VanVleet, who did get the better of us in 2019 with the Rockets. Dylan Brooks, who did not get the better of us for the most part, except for that one play-in game. Uh, yeah, so I mean, it felt good to beat Dylan Brooks, especially on the court. Huge villain.
Yeah.
And he wears it as a badge of honor when people call him that too. So I'm not breaking any news, hurting any feelings by saying that. Um, so as far as the game itself went, Warriors basically they had a pretty good start. They get out to a comfortable ish lead. The Rockets kept clawing back at one, I think in the third quarter at one point they got it down to about 3 points, but then the Warriors would just extend it back out to about 8 points or so. And that's kind of the game that they ended up playing in the fourth quarter, especially in the last parts of the fourth quarter. Houston just started missing shots like crazy, kind of like what happened to the Warriors in game 6, I believe. Uh, yeah, so it just and they were able, we were able to extend it out, and by the time it was all said and done, uh, the Rockets subreddit was crying again and
Total
just
meltdown.
total full meltdown. I like, oh, they hate the Warriors. Oh, they hate us. They hate us
Did
because
you
they ain't
see
us.
this where somebody asked some of the I forget which Rocket player it was exactly, but a reporter asked them about like, losing to the Golden State Warriors and they were like, "Nah, we're not going to, it's a different team. We weren't on that team, so it's a different Rockets team."
Right.
And then the reporter repeated that to Draymond Green, and then Draymond was like, "Yeah, it's the same franchise though."
Yeah,
you
he's
know?
not wrong. The
He's
Rockets have
not
been
wrong.
wearing this
But he was
these
just like, "It's the franchise, man." Like, I was like, that's where we're at in like modern sports where like players could just like openly take a shot at a franchise. Like,
Yep.
before, 10, 15, 20 years ago, like
Mhm.
how dare you speak badly about a
Yeah.
franchise? Like
Yeah,
you would
how dare Shaq call them the Sacramento Queens, you know? Like, I just remember that. You remember that? Like, that
right.
was a huge deal, right?
Yeah, remember
But
that?
now it's like we're just taking shots at the Rockets franchise as a franchise, like, that's
Yeah.
oh, feels good though. I love being on this end of it, and I love that I get to stay on this end of it, you know?
You know what, Vince? That's a great point because I wanted to ask you like I wanted to ask you guys post Jimmy Butler trade, like we're
Mhm.
gonna talk about the Timberwolves in a minute. But like this season was dead. We really had no hope, right?
They
Like we
yeah,
talked about it
they were a
on our
game
pod.
under 500,
We
at
thought it was
25 and
like
26. Yeah,
this team ain't doing it.
yeah.
Like we were like,
Maybe
nope, nope,
sneak in
nope.
as the 10 seed into the play-in tournament
And we
and
had
then
no
lose
hope with that.
immediately. Yeah,
We weren't
no, not
none of us were
like
talking hopeful as like, oh, well, you got a shot as a 10. Like
no, no, we
none
were
of
like,
us.
We'll probably have to play one extra game before we call it a season." You know, that's what
Exactly.
we were thinking.
You get Jimmy, you you get out of you get through the play-in tournament, you qualify for the playoffs, and you get out of the first round. Like I would say this season is already a success. Like post
Yeah,
Jimmy trade.
yeah, yeah,
Now
where's
anything from here on out
yeah,
is
us money.
yeah.
Dude, like I've seen I've kind of seen that sentiment in some of the Warriors chats and like, you know, messages and, you know, comments on posts and all that stuff. I do like I think I agree. Honestly, like the way the season was going before the trade, and then I mean you have Joe Lacob saying worth every penny. Um so I kind of agree, you know,
Because
it,
here's
it feels
how I
weird to
see.
jump on the bandwagon, but like
I
where's the
I
lie,
don't
you know?
I don't know how far they're gonna go. None of us have that crystal ball.
Mhm.
Um, I could see them. I would not be surprised if they went all the way in one, and I also would not be surprised if they get eliminated in this round. All I know is they made it interesting. They made it a lot of fun. Obviously, I hope they go all the way and win another one because then it becomes like Curry is like this is the Curry era. He won the most championships
Mhm. He
and
ties Kobe if the
he
Warriors
ties
get another
Kobe.
one,
So I
you know?
mean, it changes the talk, good or bad. It changes what we're talking about it and how we're talking about it. So I would love that. On the other side of it, where you were talking about like being on this side of history, like it that feels good. For like our entire lives, Vince, the Warriors sucked. I mean,
Yeah.
just absolutely sucked.
Mhm.
And I think like once Curry is gone and some of these players are gone, it's gonna be a cliff for the Warriors. Like fans have to understand that like the odds are this franchise is gonna nosedive because you made some trades, you don't got the first round picks. Like unless somehow you're fortunate enough, you step into a number one overall pick and that following season, it's just a huge hit and you're good. But I'm speaking from we've been in the darkness and we know that darkness is probably coming. So
Yeah,
like we're just trying to have as much fun
that's
and
right.
watching a competitive team. And if Jimmy Butler gets one, like it'll be great that he got it as a Warrior. Like he got his first and maybe only as a
Mhm.
Golden State Warrior, as Steph gets number 6 and ties Kobe and Draymond. Um
5, but
dude,
yeah.
that's how I see it as a Golden State
Right.
Warrior fan.
No, no, yeah, this is like I said, it's house money at this point for this season. It definitely it's something to look forward to. I remember the dog days. I remember 2007 we had the We Believe. I was literally wearing my We Believe socks during the game 7 yesterday. And the following year they didn't make the playoffs even though they had like 48 wins because the Western Conference was absolutely wild and it almost always is. And then that was it until, 2013 Mark Jackson comes around. You got a couple of years of that. You get into the second round one of those seasons in 2013, and then 2014 you get eliminated in that first round against the Clippers. That's what led to Mark Jackson getting the axe and bringing in Steve Kerr. Yeah, so I mean, and then like you had a couple of years where they were actually good with Chris Mullin, but for the most part, like he was kind of, a Hall of Fame talent wasting away a bit.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so just for the first 30 years of my life, they were, for the most part, dog shit. and
Yeah.
and the last decade has been far beyond my wildest expectations. It, I mean, four championships in 8 years. You're still contending a couple years after that one. That fourth one in 2022, that was a house money championship.
Right.
Like I was already
Absolutely.
sated, I was full. But you know what? They brought out dessert. Maybe it's time for a nightcap. Who knows? Maybe we're gonna go grab a drink at an
Or
after party
as we
after
say,
dinner.
it's a dessert hot dog. We're getting some dessert glizzies tonight.
That's right. Yeah. Uh,
Um, Vince, just to talk a little bit about like to close off on the Houston Rockets and Warriors. Young team, I see a lot of potential in them.
mhm.
I know some of their players are going to get crushed. Specifically Jalen Green.
Yeah.
Um,
It's already
I don't.
started in the forums. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think I don't know the Rockets as well as I know the Warriors, but I think the number one thing that I noticed is like they just didn't have enough shooters on the court. Like Van
Mhm.
Fleet was really
Yeah.
good for a
Nuclear.
very long
He was
stretch.
nuclear for the entire second half of the series. From game
Right,
4 on, he was just like he was shooting like over 60% from 3. That's unheard of, you know?
right,
Clay didn't do that, you know?
right. No, he
Like
went God mode,
nobody did.
dude. Like
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
he went Captain Insano. It was, and that was incredible. That was a lot of fun to watch. Şengün, he's going to be a problem. He's only going to get better, I would think. So
Mhm,
there's a lot, and there's a lot of good things to like about the team. I think they were just young, and with we talked about this, the rest that the Golden State Warriors were going to be able to get with 2 days in between, and make improvements, and we thought that the Warriors would win just because of the rest, which I think now will play a role in the Timberwolves. But
mhm.
it was nice to beat the Rockets again. But I saw some highlights on their team. I don't think they're going to go away.
No.
I think with a couple moves, they can get a really good shooter, and they're going to play tough defense. So
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah,
think
it
everything,
was
not everything is doom and gloom in
no,
Houston because
absolutely not. They got a really rough draw because if the Warriors had Jimmy Butler and played at the winning percentage that they played with him for the entire season, the Warriors would have been the 2 seed. So they got a really
yeah,
rough
and that the
draw in a
seeding.
2-7 split is part of
That's a
it.
very fair point because the seeding, like 2 versus 7 on paper, just looks so far and wide,
Mhm.
but they're only a couple games apart,
Right.
and the
Yeah.
Rockets were the 2 seed because of, like, a tiebreaker or something, so, like,
They were yeah,
it wasn't as far apart. It wasn't OKC versus the Golden
everybody
State
else. Yeah, yeah,
Warriors,
yeah.
you know, so, looking ahead, now that the Rockets are down,
Mhm.
the Warriors are gonna tomorrow night start taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves.